What's up, boys, and welcome to the final episode of the second quarter for the week. In this episode, we're going to look at quarterbacks and just players in general that have entered and found a place in the college transfer portal, or names that have entered and have yet to find a home but are big name players. So, you want to start with your guys, or you want me to start with mine?
You can go ahead and kick it off.
All right, I'll start with my first guy. Number one, I got Spencer Rattler. Obviously leaving Oklahoma to go to South Carolina after being benched at OU for Caleb Williams. I do feel like he could do good in that South Carolina system, and he could definitely up his draft stock being in the SEC and playing those good teams, big name teams, and Clemson in their rivalry game at the end of the year. So I do feel like he could do good and potentially up his draft stock for next year. But in my opinion, Spencer Rattler's always kind of been a little weenie. If you looked at if you ever watched Last Chance U with him whenever he was on it, he just seems like a horrible person. And he whines and cries when he doesn't get his way. So the second he doesn't get his way is South Carolina. He's just going to transfer midseason. But if he stays and he starts, could up his draft stock, could be pretty good. But I think after what happened last year, his ceiling is like a high second-round pick in the draft.
Yeah, he's definitely got a long way to go from being one of the top 5 prospects to completely falling off.
Unless he just goes absolutely crazy and wins a Heisman.
I don't see that
He's
happening.
He's like a high second-round pick at best. I hope he sees this.
So the first one on my transfer portal is quarterback Quinn Ewers, a 1.0 rated quarterback. Second one of this century other than Vince Young. Moving from Ohio State to Texas, back to his home state. Would have loved to see him at Ohio State with Jackson Smith and Jigba, see what they could do. Obviously, that's not going to happen with C.J. Stroud being there and being a freshman as well.
I feel like the only reason he went to Ohio State is for the $1 million.
Yeah, made his $1 million and left. So it'd have been fantastic to see what he could have done there. But moving back to his home state of Texas, Texas A&M, probably could have crossed his mind. Maybe a little bit better football school. Texas really hasn't been relevant since Vince Young was there, and they won the national title, I believe so. They definitely were in the title game. But it'd have been fun to see what he would have done there. I think he's going to do very well in this new system. With him being a redshirted freshman this year, I think he's gonna do really good in Texas. It's gonna bring in a lot more recruiting there as well. So high hopes for Quinn Ewers moving forward.
I feel like one major controversy that no one's talking about with Quinn Ewers going to Texas is how it affects Arch Manning, because Texas was one of his Final 5 schools.
It's true. Yeah, and he graduates next year, I believe.
I believe it is next year. So that could affect Arch Manning and where he goes. But Quinn Ewers is obviously coming out of high school. At least he was better ranked, but Arch Manning still has like another year to up his draft stock, college recruiting stock. So next, I got Bo Nix transferring to from Auburn to Oregon. I feel like he's a great player. I don't know if you remember this, but in his freshman year, the announcer said it was a story that he did not get sacked his entire senior year at high school.
Wow.
He's a very evasive player. And I feel like in the right system with some weapons, he could thrive. But he is a mobile quarterback, so that could help him. And I just feel like this is a good move for him. I feel like he really ups his draft stock here if he decides to go to the draft, because I believe he has one more year left if he doesn't. Or this might be his senior year. I'm not too sure on that. But with the COVID year, he would still have another year.
Yeah.
So it looks good. I feel like he could do big things.
Moving on to my next one, I have the defensive back, Eli Rix. From Alabama, or moving to Alabama from LSU. Obviously, with LSU having a down year, he was one of the best prospects coming out of high school. I believe he's in his sophomore year now, transferring from LSU to Alabama into a bigger market, bigger name school, because LSU was supposed to be a decent school. I feel like a lot of people commit to Alabama because they're like, hey, you'll sit for a few years, but you're guaranteed a chance for the national title, to where other schools may not have that appeal. You get on the field immediately and can't do that. And so
that's why you go to Bama, because they're guaranteed. Like, if you go to Bama, you are almost guaranteed a national title game appearance. There has been 1 year since CFB started, like the playoff era started, that they missed the playoffs, and that was the year Joe Burrow was at LSU. It was 2019. But you are guaranteed to compete for a national title every year at Alabama.
Yeah. And so that's why I believe Eli Rix went there, because LSU was supposed to compete. They didn't meet up to his standard. He's transferring to Alabama, where he's going to be under Nick Saban and a great defensive coordinator there, if he does not take another position as head coach. So Eli Rix is my next one. I think he's a great DB. He's going to really thrive in Alabama's system, and he'll probably be a second, third round pick in the NFL draft.
My next one is Keaton Slovis, transferring from USC to Pittsburgh while Kenny Pickett goes to the draft. I feel like he could be a great player. He obviously has a great arm. He's got confidence to make throws that not a lot of quarterbacks can make. Even if he doesn't make them, he has that confidence and that short-term memory to go right back and throw some more, even if he throws an interception or makes a bad play. And I feel like he's got to work on his progressions. He sees a read and he likes to stick to it pre-play. But if he could open up his vision to see more players on the field, he could be a great quarterback and potentially be a first-round pick in next year's draft if he plays really well.
Moving on to my next one is running back Jamir Gibbs, transferring from Georgia Tech to Alabama. Like I said, he's chasing the national title. He was the highest rated running back this year in the transfer portal. So obviously Alabama's going to want to pick him up. They have used a multitude of running backs this year, especially in the national title game. I believe they're juniors this year, so they may be entering the draft, and some of them might stay for their senior year. Jamir Gibbs, I think he's going to be really good once he gets into his junior and senior year, if he decides to stay past his junior year. He's very quick on his feet. A little bit smaller back. I believe he's 5'10", 5'11". Well, actually, he's about not bulky is what I should say. He's not a downhill runner. He's very elusive. So Jamir Gibbs is the next one on mine.
Next, I have Jackson Dart, currently in the portal, leaving USC. I think he's a great player, especially being a freshman. He's just a great player. And he has potential to be a top 5 quarterback in college football for the next couple of years and really up his draft stock heading into the NFL. Maybe after his junior year or after his senior if he stays all 4. I have 2 picks for where he's going to end up. My pick where I think he would thrive the most is Ole Miss, but I could see him going to Utah. His girlfriend goes to Utah. So that's just a very common thing that happens.
It seems like a theme. All the quarterbacks are going where their girlfriends are.
So I'm between Ole Miss and Utah. I think he'd do better at Ole Miss, but Utah is just looming there with his girlfriend. Who you got next?
Moving on to the next, offensive tackle Kingsley Sumataya, transferring from Oregon to BYU. Obviously, moving to a little bit smaller market school. I think Zach Wilson did a great thing there. Really brought it to market. It's an Ivy League school. So maybe he's chasing academics. Who knows? Yeah. But I think he's going to do really good there. He's one of the best offensive tackles, if not the best offensive tackle coming out of high school. So I think he's going to do a lot of good things there. In a few years, he'll be a first-round pick in the NFL draft.
But with Kingsley, I think one of the reasons he's transferring from Oregon is Mario Cristobal left for Miami. So
yeah, losing a coach definitely could impact that.
Yeah, and then obviously the last one, the next one is Caleb Williams. We're both gonna kind of go over that one. It's really predicted that he goes to USC to be with Lincoln Riley.
Just about guaranteed.
Yeah. It's just about guaranteed. He's a great player, especially being only a freshman this year and taking one of the preseason Heisman favorites jobs midway through the season. Is always impressive despite Spencer Rattler playing bad. He's a great player. I do think he goes to USC with Lincoln Riley, but there's always a chance he could go somewhere else. Where do you think he's going to go?
I have USC as well. I mean, I think he's going to follow his coach, Lincoln Riley. One of my pet peeves about head coaches is as soon as there is a better job opening, they're going to take it, no matter how much they've invested into that and everything. That's why when Mike Vrabel was the defensive coordinator or linebackers coach or defensive end coach at Ohio State, when he was recruiting his process, he said, hey, I'm probably not going to be here, so don't commit to a school just because you like the coach. And I feel like that might have been what Caleb Williams was doing. So now that his coach left, he's going to transfer to where his coach is at, which, I mean, obviously you can do that if you're a big market player. So I just about guaranteed he's going to USC. Could stay at OU, but I don't think it's going to happen with Dylan Gabriel being there after transferring from UCF.
And a thing with Caleb Williams going to USC, it kind of opens the door for him because Keaton Slovis and Jackson Dart both transferred out. Jackson Dart could still go back, but it's not likely.
Yeah, especially if Caleb Williams is going to go there.
Keaton Slovis already committed to Pitt. So Caleb Williams is a big name still in the transfer portal, but it seems most likely he ends up at USC.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's just about guaranteed.
In my opinion, a dark horse is LSU, but very, very dark horse. I feel like if he does not go to USC, LSU's got to be the front runner.
Yep. With it being a little bit closer to home, kind of a big. It's a smaller market now that Joe Burrow's transferred out and they lost just about everybody that they had. Definitely could put up some big numbers with it being in the conference that it's in, so I can definitely see that for sure, but just about guaranteed. My prediction is USC. If it's not USC, I will be completely shocked, and then we'll probably have a whole episode just covering that.
Yeah. So obviously we got one more left, and that's all up to you. You want to do that one?
The Pro Bowl predictions?
No, Dylan Gabriel.
Oh, Dylan Gabriel. I thought you meant another episode. I was like,
no.
So yeah, Dylan Gabriel transferring from UCF, excuse me, to OU. It definitely is going to close the window here for Caleb Williams to return. If nobody else transferred to OU, there's definitely a possibility he could go back if the coach convinced him. Now that Dylan Gabriel's there, absolutely no shot. Dylan Gabriel did okay at UCF. I feel like with the right coach here at OU, he could probably thrive. There's some weapons there, definitely big in the run game as well. So as long as he's got a good offensive line, some all right, weapons, I could see him being a third, fourth round pick. I don't think he's amazing. I don't think he's one of the best quarterbacks ever. He's kind of right in the middle for me.
See, if y'all don't remember, whenever he entered the portal, he went to UCLA. He verbally committed to UCLA.
Yep.
But when Caleb Williams decided he wanted to enter the portal, he committed to OU and kind of took that right out from Caleb Williams, right out from under him. So I do feel like that's going to be a big factor because Caleb Williams could have went back, but
yeah.
I don't think.
I feel like him transferring there definitely closed the door,
yeah.
And I believe Caleb Williams is the better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel.
Oh,
so
definitely.
If he wanted to go back, he definitely could.
He'd have his job, but
it's going to spark some locker room controversy there.
Yeah. I feel like if he does recommit, Gabriel's going to re-enter the transfer portal for the third time.
Yeah,
this
change
year.
schools. It's just those are our transfer portal predictions. Tune into our next week episode when we're going to cover the divisional round, our championship predictions, and then we're going to do some Pro Bowl predictions as well. With the dodgeball games and everything that they have going on there. So we'll see you guys.